Story 1. The last shift at Cabin 47. I used to think the scariest part of being a park ranger was the wildlife. Turns out I was wrong. My name's Ryan, and for 8 years I've worked night shift for the state park. Mostly it's boring. Drunk campers, lost hikers, teenagers sneaking into restricted areas. You handle enough of it, and you stop getting jumpy at every branch, snap in the dark. Except for Cabin 47. It's not on the official map anymore. After the fire 12 years ago, they shut it down, fenced it off, and quietly removed it from all brochures. Unofficially, everyone on the night crew knows better than to go near it. We all have different versions of the story. Some say it was a gas leak. Some say it was arson. The version they told me when I started was simple. 4 people rented Cabin 47 for the weekend. Only one body was found in the ashes. The others? Never recovered. So yeah, you can imagine my excitement when dispatch crackled to life around 1:13 a.m. last month. Ranger Unit 12, respond to disturbance near Cabin 47, multiple reports of screaming. I actually laughed at first. You guys messing with me? Silence, then the clipped voice of dispatch. -12. We received 3 911 calls from the public campground. They all report screaming and flickering lights up near the old burned cabin. Please respond. Backup en route. The thing about working nights is you develop a sixth sense for pranks versus real concern. This didn't feel like a prank. I took the service road, tires crunching gravel, switching from normal headlights to my spotlight. The trees closed in overhead, a tunnel of black. My beams slicing through fog, drifting low over the ground. My radio stayed quiet, and that silence made my skin crawl. Cabin 47 had been leveled years ago. I'd seen the clearing in the daytime, a scorched rectangle of foundation stones and a collapsed chimney swallowed by ivy. No walls, no roof, no power. So explain to me why, as I killed the engine and stepped out, I saw a soft yellow glow through the trees. Light. Exactly where Cabin 47 should have been. I froze on the trail. The air felt wrong. Too still, too tight, like I'd walked into a room mid-argument. Hello? I called. Park Ranger, is anyone hurt? No answer. Just that low orange glow pulsing through the trees. I gripped my flashlight and pushed forward, heart beating a little harder than I'd admit. The clearing opened around me and my brain refused to understand what I was seeing. Cabin 47 was standing, intact. A wooden cabin, porch light on, windows glowing with warm lamplight. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney into a moonless sky. I stopped dead. I knew this wasn't possible. I'd done daylight patrols down this same path. There was nothing here but char. Dispatch, this is Unit 12, I said, voice shaking just a little. I'm at the old 47 site. The cabin is, standing. Lights are on. Can you confirm any construction in this area? Static hissed, then dispatch replied, -12. There's been no construction authorized. Are you sure you're at the correct coordinates? I read them off. She repeated them back slowly. That's Cabin 47's location. That structure was demolished. Proceed with caution. No kidding. I stepped up onto the porch. It creaked under my weight like old wood does. Familiar and wrong at the same time. My flashlight beam swept across a rocking chair, a pair of muddy boots by the door, and a rusty lantern hanging on a nail. I knocked. Park Ranger, we've had reports of screaming. Is anyone inside? Do you need help? The screaming started immediately, not from inside the cabin, from my radio. High-pitched, distorted wailing erupted through the speaker, making me flinch. It sounded like a woman, or maybe several people. Voices overlapping in a panicked, agonized chorus that made my whole body tense. Dispatch! What the? Cut that noise, you're feeding back, I snapped. But dispatch's voice cut through the screaming, calm and flat. We're not transmitting 12. You're the only unit on this channel. The screams kept going, louder, tearing at my ears, and then they cut off. Silence. The porch light flickered once. Then the cabin door swung inward on its own. The inside looked normal, cozy even. A stone fireplace with embers glowing, a wooden table with 4 chairs, a faded rug. No smoke, no scorch marks, no bodies. I stepped in. Is anyone here? My boots thumped on the floorboards. I could hear my own breathing, too loud in the stillness. The door didn't slam behind me like in a movie. It just slowly eased shut, soft click, until I was alone with the dim lamplight and the faint crackle of the fire. I swept the main room. No one. Checked the tiny kitchen. Empty. Two bedrooms down a short hallway, neatly made beds, luggage at the foot of one, a duffel bag half-zipped. I crouched and opened it. Clothes, a half-burned map of the park, a tourist brochure dated 12 years ago. My throat went dry. I picked up the map. The edges were darkened, crumbling, still smelling faintly like smoke. I was staring at something that shouldn't exist. My radio crackled again. You shouldn't be in here, a voice said. I froze. Dispatch? But it wasn't dispatch. It was me. My own voice playing back through the radio, slightly warped. Park Ranger, is anyone inside? Do you need help? It was exactly what I'd said on the porch 30 seconds earlier. Then another layer played over it, another recording. My voice again, this time from the truck. You guys messing with me? My own words echoing back at me, overlapping and distorting, like someone scrubbing through a tape of my night. My hands shook as I turned down the volume. But even with the knob at 0, I could still hear faint whispers pressing against my eardrums, building like pressure. Something moved behind me. I turned. 4 people sat at the table. They hadn't been there a second ago. A man, a woman, and 2 teens. Their clothes were outdated, singed at the edges. Their skin was pale, eyes sunken, but they were watching me with a kind of desperate hope. Can you hear us now? The woman asked. Her voice sounded like it was coming from down a long tunnel. My instinct screamed at me to run, to get out, but my legs locked in place. We got a call, I managed. People reported screaming, lights. You're not supposed to be here. This cabin burned down. The father figure gave a brittle laugh. His hair was charred at the tips. It did, he said. We keep calling. No one comes. My heart hammered. Calling? Who? 911. The park ranger station, the sheriff's office. His eyes flicked to my radio. You never hear us. You never hear anything. Just noise. The boy leaned forward, half his face blurred at the edges like smoke. But tonight you heard us, he whispered. Tonight you finally answered. Look, I don't understand what you want from me, I said. Do you need help? Yes, they said together, in perfect unison. The fire went out. Darkness swallowed the room, and suddenly the only light was from outside. A cold white beam sweeping across the window. Headlights. Another ranger unit pulling up. Back up, I said, exhaling. Good. We'll get you all out of here. The woman stood. Her eyes looked wet and black, reflecting the outside light. You can't get us out, she said. We're not asking for that. The door opened behind me. I turned, expecting to see my coworker step in, but instead the doorway was just empty. Not dark, not bright, just a kind of aching absence. Then what are you asking? I whispered. The little girl finally spoke. I hadn't even noticed her until then, small and hunched in her chair, clutching a charred stuffed rabbit. She looked up at me, and her voice was both a whisper in my ear and a scream on my radio at the same time. Stay, she said. Please, just one more shift. My radio burst alive with overlapping calls, units shouting my name, dispatch asking for a status, a distorted version of my own voice yelling over itself. But I couldn't make out words anymore. The cabin around me flickered. For half a second, I saw it the way it really was. Blackened beams, collapsed ceiling, ash on the floor. 4 charred shapes slumped at the table. Then it snapped back to lamplight and warm wood and desperate faces. The father put a hand on my shoulder. It felt like cold air and burning coals at the same time. We called for help, he said softly. Now that you've answered, you can't leave. Do you know how long it took a ranger to come back? The door behind me closed on its own. I scrambled for it, yanking the handle. It wouldn't move. The knob burned my palm like hot metal. I smelled smoke, thick and choking, but the room was perfectly clear. Dispatch, this is Unit 12, I shouted into my radio. I need... The radio clicked and a familiar voice answered. My voice. Unit 12, responding to disturbance near cabin 47, it said calmly. I'll check it out. Through the window, I watched my truck's headlights slowly turn away and drive back down the road, like I'd never gotten out. In the distance, I heard a faint version of myself over the truck radio, laughing. You guys messing with me? The four figures at the table smiled with cracked, smoky lips as my throat closed around the smell of burning pine. Welcome to your last shift, the woman said. The cabin flickered again, and this time, it didn't come back. My daughter has always had a big imagination. She's 6, exactly the age where stuffed animals have personalities, the floor is lava, and you have to check under the bed for monsters before lights out. My wife and I took turns playing along, reassuring her that there were no monsters, just shadows. I wish we'd been right. It started on a Tuesday. I remember because it was curry night and the smell lingered in the house for hours. I was loading the dishwasher when Lily padded into the kitchen, dragging her blanket. Daddy, she asked, can my friend stay for dinner? I smiled. Of course, is it Mr. Bunny or Princess Nora? She frowned. No, my new friend, the one in my closet. I paused. Oh yeah? And what's your new friend's name? Her eyes drifted past me over my shoulder toward the dark hallway that led to her room. For a second, her little face went blank, like she was listening. Then she smiled again. He says you already know. I played it off. Kids say weird things. Well, tell him he can have some broccoli if he's hungry. She giggled and ran off. I told myself it was cute. That night at bedtime, I noticed she kept glancing at her closet doors. We keep them closed because the sliding track sticks, and they always tilt open on their own. Want me to keep the lamp on? I asked. She nodded. Just a little. He doesn't like it too bright. Who doesn't? She pulled the blanket up to her chin. My friend, he's shy. He only comes out when you leave. That should have been my red flag. Instead, I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and promised to check on her later. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a small shadow standing by our bed. Daddy, Lily whispered, you're being too loud. You'll make him mad. I blinked the sleep away. It's the middle of the night, kiddo. Nobody's making any noise. She shook her head, curls bouncing. No, I saw you in my room. You keep talking to him, and he keeps laughing. It woke me up. A cold shiver crept up my spine. I'm right here, sweetheart. I swung my legs over the bed. Show me. We walked down the hallway together, her hand warm in mine. The nightlight cast a dim yellow glow over the carpet. I could hear nothing but the hum of the fridge. When we reached her door, she pulled back. You go first. He doesn't like me when you're here. The room was empty. Bed, toys, small desk, curtains gently shifting from the heater vent. Closet doors closed. See? I said. Nothing. Maybe you had a bad dream. She huffed. You were in here. I saw you. I tried to tuck her back in, but she insisted on sleeping in our bed. It was a work night. I was too tired to argue. The next morning, I chalked everything up to a nightmare. Then 2 days later, my wife Liz called me at work. You teach Lily a new game? She asked, sounding amused. Some kind of mimic thing? No, why? She keeps saying, that's not what Daddy said. And when I ask what she means, she says, you'll hear it later. That night, putting Lily to bed, I decided to gently press the issue. So this new friend, I said, have I met him? She shrugged, tracing circles on her pillowcase. He says he knows you very well. That's so? Uh-huh. He says he watches you when you're sleeping, and when you go to work, and when you're in the shower. He says you make funny faces in the mirror. I laughed nervously. Does he now? She stared at the ceiling. He also says you shouldn't talk about him where he can't hear. I swallowed. And where can he hear? Her eyes flicked to the closet. The closet is his room, she whispered. But he can go through all the dark parts of the house, like under the bed, and between the stairs, and inside the TV when it's off. Is he in there now? I asked. Lily smiled, small and secretive. He never leaves. That night after she fell asleep, I slid the closet open, just to prove to myself there was nothing there. Just clothes, toys, a cardboard box of old shoes and books. I knelt on the carpet and peered into each corner. Nothing. But the longer I stared, the more the shadows seemed to move. Not like they had shape, more like they were aware of being watched. Get a grip, I muttered, closing the doors. The next few days, things got stranger. I'd be in the living room and hear my own voice drifting down the hall, talking softly. It wasn't the TV. We don't keep one in the bedrooms. It wasn't a recording. There was no device. Once, coming out of the shower, I heard myself say from Lily's room, clear as day, "Don't worry, he won't see us. Not yet." I stormed down the hall, heart pounding. The room was empty. Lily was at school. Closet doors half open. On the inside of one door, at child height, someone had written 3 words with what looked like crayon. "He hears you." I called Liz immediately. "Did you see the writing in Lily's room?" "What writing?" she asked. She swore she hadn't done it. Lily denied it too, insisting, "He told me not to write on the doors. He gets mad when you see his messages." That night, I decided enough was enough. After Lily fell asleep, I set up my old baby monitor camera facing the closet. If someone was messing with us, if this was some elaborate glitch or our daughter acting out, I'd catch it. Around 3:12 a.m., the monitor screen in our bedroom flickered. I woke up to static and the faint, breathy sound of someone talking. At first, I thought it was picking up a neighbor's baby monitor frequency. Then I heard my own voice. "Told you," it said. "He doesn't like bright lights." The video feed stabilized. I saw Lily's room, bathed in grainy night vision. She lay in bed, asleep, facing the camera. The closet doors were wide open. Inside the closet, the darkness looked too deep, like the space went on forever. And in that blackness, 2 points of reflected light hovered at about the height of an adult's chest. Eyes. The audio scrambled, then cleared. My own voice spoke from the monitor again, but this time it didn't quite sound right. Too smooth, syllables stretched just a little too long. "You're doing very well," it said. "They still don't believe." I stared, frozen, as a tall shape began to detach itself from the darkness. No features, no clothing, just a vertical smear of black, like a hole in the video itself. It leaned toward Lily's bed. "Come on," I whispered, throwing off the covers. "Liz, wake up!" She barely stirred as I sprinted down the hall, bursting into Lily's room. The light switch did nothing. The bulb popped with a small crack, leaving me in dim hallway glow, spilling in from behind. Lily was still in bed, awake now, eyes wide and staring at the closet. The doors were shut. "Daddy," she whispered, "you're too early. He said you weren't coming yet." My skin crawled. "What do you mean?" She glanced at me, then past me. "No," she said softly, as if answering someone I couldn't see. "That's not what you sound like when you're in the dark." I spun, instinctively looking behind me. Only the hallway. I grabbed her and carried her to our bed. She shook the whole time, not from crying, but from something else, like she was cold from the inside. The next day, I bought a new lock for the closet, a heavy-duty latch out of Lily's reach. I told myself that would fix it. That night at 2:47 a.m., we woke to a loud bang. It came from Lily's room. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep under the bed and ran. Her closet doors were open. The lock lay on the floor, screws twisted, metal bent in the wrong direction, as if something had pushed out from the inside. On the inside of the door, below the previous message, new words had been scratched into the wood. Not crayon this time, something sharper. "You're in the wrong room." I felt a presence behind me before I heard it. My own voice, inches from my ear, whispering from the dark. "She sleeps with Mommy tonight. Just you and me in here." I turned on every light in the house. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. We stay at a motel now. Lily seems calmer, but she still talks about her friend. She says he doesn't use the closet anymore. "He doesn't need it," she told me yesterday, swinging her legs off the motel bed. "He learned a better way." I asked her what she meant. She smiled, but it didn't look like her. "He doesn't have to wait for you to leave the room now," she said. "He figured out how to follow you in your voice." Tonight, as I record this, I keep playing the audio back, listening for anything strange. Static, echoes, distortion. You say you're just listening to a scary story on the internet, But if you hear my voice again later tonight, when the house is dark and you're alone in your room, make sure it's coming from your speakers. Security camera number 9 keeps seeing something behind me. I work as the overnight security supervisor for a mid-sized distribution warehouse. Think of fluorescent lights, pallets stacked to the ceiling, forklift beeps echoing in the distance. We have 15 security cameras covering the interior and 4 outside. I know every angle by heart, or I thought I did. 3 months ago, we upgraded our system. New software, better resolution, cloud backup. The vendor installed everything, handed me the logins, and that was that. Everything was fine until Camera 9 started acting weird. Camera 9 covers the back corridor between the loading docks and the employee lockers. It's usually dead, just me doing rounds and the occasional janitor. One Thursday, I was in the control room watching the monitors, half listening to a podcast on my phone. The timestamp was 2:37 a.m. Camera 9 showed an empty hallway. Then, without warning, the feed jumped. Not glitched, jumped. One frame was empty. Next frame, I was in it walking down the corridor, back to the camera, doing my usual checks. That part wasn't strange. I walked that hallway about 5 minutes earlier. What was strange was that I hadn't rewound the footage. The system had done it on its own. I scrubbed back. The playback bar showed no jump, just a continuous recording. But at 2:33, the timeline clearly replayed me from 2:28, only different. In the real memory, I remember walking, checking doors, whistling. In the replay, my shoulders were hunched. My hands hung limply at my sides. My head turned a fraction too far to the left, like my neck had one extra vertebrae. And there was someone standing behind me. Not right behind. More like a few feet back, slightly to the side. A tall, thin figure, blurred at the edges, like the camera couldn't quite focus. No face, no visible clothing, just a smudge of darkness, vaguely person-shaped. It stood still while version number 1 me walked. Then it pivoted smoothly and glided after me, keeping perfect distance, like it was attached with an invisible rod. I checked the cameras 7, 8, 10, 11. They showed me alone. Only Camera 9 saw it. I told myself it was a video artifact, a glitch. New systems always have bugs. 2 nights later, the glitch came back. I was at my desk sipping stale coffee when Camera 9's live feed froze, then flickered. For about 3 seconds, I watched myself walking down the same corridor again, but this time my clothes were different. I'm wearing an older uniform, and my hair is slightly shorter. The timestamp didn't change. It still claimed to be a live feed. That same blurred figure stood behind me, and this time, something was wrong with the way I moved. My steps were out of sync, too smooth, like frames were missing, and every few seconds my head would jerk sharply backward, snapping toward the camera, mouth wide in a silent scream. However, my real memory of that patrol? It was boring. I walked, I checked doors. No screams. I scrubbed through back and forth, but the footage wouldn't stick. As soon as I let go of the mouse, the video snapped back to normal live feed, showing an empty corridor. I didn't log it, didn't tell my boss. I didn't feel like explaining ghost glitch in a support ticket, but it kept happening. Every few nights, Camera 9 would seize up and replay some distorted version of me walking that hallway. Sometimes it was from earlier in the night, sometimes from last week, sometimes from before the upgrade, wearing uniforms I hadn't worn in years. Every version of me had the same follower. At first, the figure kept its distance, but as the weeks went on, it started inching closer. One frame, it'd be 3 feet away. Next time, 2, then 1. On Tuesday, my double walked past the camera with its shadow glued to its back, like something was physically pressed against me, wrapping itself around my spine. That night, I went home and seriously considered quitting. Then the email started. Our system sends automatic alerts when it detects unusual motion patterns. Most of them are nonsense. Bugs flying close to the lens, pallet jacks left in weird spots. But each time Camera 9 glitched, the system sent a flag still image to my inbox for review with the subject line, Motion Anomaly, Human Pattern. The earliest ones had me in a blurred blob. The latest one? Just the blurred figure. The anomaly detection algorithm had boxed the shape in red and labeled it human. 98% confidence. I called the vendor, told them camera 9 was malfunctioning. They remote accessed our system, ran diagnostics, and came back with, everything looks normal. They suggested swapping cameras 8 and 9 to rule out hardware failure, which we did. Now camera 8 started glitching. It wasn't the hardware, it was that hallway. Last week I decided to test something. I waited until about 3 a.m., when the building was at its quietest. Then I walked down the back corridor, deliberately, slowly, watching camera 8's live feed on my phone. Real me, walking. Live feed, me, walking, no shadow. At the far end by the emergency exit door, I turned around and stared at the lens, gave a little wave. When I got back to the control room, the live feed was normal. No glitches, no rewinds. I scrubbed back a few minutes and the footage had changed. In the recorded version, as soon as I turned my back to the camera, the blurred figure peeled itself off the wall and stepped into frame like it had been waiting there all along. It was clearer this time. Tall, thin, limbs too long, head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. There were no features, but you could feel where its face should be, pushed up close to the back of my skull, like it was whispering something only I could hear. As recorded me waved at the camera, the figure's head turned, staring directly into the lens. The screen glitched. For 2 frames, I saw something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't a face exactly. It was a mask of static forming my own features. My eyes, my nose, my mouth, but too large, stretched, like someone had grabbed the corners of my image and pulled. When the feed stabilized, I was alone again. On the live camera, I'd never been touched, but on the recording, I was never alone. You might be thinking, turn off camera 9, stop watching it, problem solved. I tried that. Last night, I logged in from home to check something unrelated. Motion alerts were piling up in my inbox. When I opened the camera list, my blood ran cold. One of the feeds was still labeled Cam 9 Back Corridor. We only have 8 interior cameras now. I know that. I removed 9 from the system myself, but there it was. So I clicked it. The video showed my living room. My actual living room. The couch, TV, lamp, the empty coffee mug I'd just set down. The vantage point wasn't possible. It was like the camera was placed 3 feet behind my head. In the corner of the frame, sitting on the couch, was me, alone. I stared at my laptop, frowning at the screen. I waved my hand experimentally. On the feed, I didn't move. Then slowly, something uncurled itself from the darkness behind the couch. For the first time, I saw it clearly. No blur, no distortion. It was taller than the ceiling should have allowed, joints slightly wrong, limbs draped like a marionette in the hands of a lazy puppeteer. It leaned over me, its chin almost touching the top of my head. On the screen, its face was a smooth oval of static, but beneath the flicker, I could see the ghost of my own features pulsing in and out, like it was trying them on. My phone buzzed in my hand. I received a new motion alert. Subject, motion anomaly, human pattern, home. The still image attached showed my living room again. No couch, no me, just the figure. Boxed in red, labeled human, 100% confidence. I'm still at home right now, recording this. Every time I move, I feel breath on the back of my neck. I haven't checked the live feed again, because I already know what camera 9 will show now. It won't be behind me anymore. It'll be in my place because I'll be dead, replaced by the thing on camera number 9. I picked up a hitchhiker, but she vanished when we passed the county line. I used to do long-haul night drives for work. I don't anymore. And this story is the reason why. It was about 11:50 p.m. on Route 17, a dead stretch of highway between 2 nowhere towns. I'd driven it 100 times, and I'd never seen another person walking. So when my headlights picked up the shape of someone standing on the shoulder, right thumb out, I slowed down automatically. I don't know why. Habit maybe. Pity. Stupidity. The hitchhiker was a girl, maybe 16 or 17, wearing a light blue dress that didn't match the cold air. No coat, no bag. Barefoot on asphalt. I rolled down the window. "You okay? Need help?" She leaned in, face pale in the beams. I just need a ride to the county line. Please. Her voice was soft but steady, a little too steady. Still, I unlocked the door. She slid in without another word, hands folded in her lap like she was trying not to intrude. Where are you headed after the county line? I asked. She didn't answer for a few seconds. Then, I won't be going farther. I nodded awkwardly and focused on the road. The silence got heavy, uncomfortable. She didn't move, didn't fidget, didn't even warm up her hands. Finally, I said, I don't usually pick people up this late, but I'm glad I saw you. Are you from around here? She turned her head toward the window. I was. I checked the clock. About 8 more miles to the county border. The temperature outside had dropped sharply. Through the corner of my eye, I noticed something odd. The girl wasn't breathing. Not heavily, not lightly, not at all. No rise or fall of her chest. I tried not to stare. So, what took you out this way? After a long moment, she said, I didn't make it home. I thought maybe if I tried again. She stopped. My stomach dropped. If you tried again? She looked at me for the first time since getting in. Her eyes were hollow, not empty, but bottomless, like looking down a well where the light never reached. Just drive, she said gently. Please. I pressed on the gas and kept quiet. When the county line finally came into view, a small white sign lit by my headlights, she exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Thank you, she whispered. The moment we crossed the border, I glanced over. The seat was empty. No door sound. No shift of weight. No trace of her at all. Only the faintest imprint on the fabric, already fading. I slammed the brakes. A truck coming the opposite way honked, swerving around me. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I jumped out, shining my flashlight along the shoulder, the ditch, the nearby trees. She was nowhere to be found. I got back into the truck, trembling. On the seat where she'd been sitting, something caught the light. It was small, bare, damp footprint. I drove straight to the next town and stopped at a gas station, where I told the night clerk what happened. He didn't look surprised. You picked up the Miller girl, he said. Happens every few years. She died on Route 17 in 1983. Hit by a drunk driver. Never made it home. I asked, why the county line? He shrugged. That's where they found her body. I still drive sometimes, but never after dark, and never on Route 17. My neighbor hasn't been alive for weeks, but I see him every night. Mr. Calloway was a quiet old man who lived across the street, always kept his lawn trimmed short, always waved when I drove by. He had this slow, gentle walk, like he had nowhere urgent to be. I really liked him, which is why it bothered me when the coroner took his body away. He had heart attack, they said. I went to the small service they held at the community church. 3 days later, his daughter put the house up for sale. But that night, around 11 p.m., when I took my dog outside, I saw Mr. Calloway standing in his living room window. Same silhouette, same posture, same soft sway, like he was rocking on his heels. I dropped the leash. My dog started barking like crazy. The window blinked dark. The next night he was there again. Same window, same stillness. I tried convincing myself it was a reflection or someone checking on the house. But every night, between 10:30 p.m. and midnight, his outline would fill that window, motionless, staring out across the street. Finally, I walked over. My dog refused to come, tail tucked so hard it brushed his belly. I knocked. Hello? Anyone inside? No answer. I tried the door, but it was locked. But through the window, I could see what I hadn't noticed before. The figure wasn't standing in the room. It was standing behind the room, behind the walls, like a shadow inside the house's bones. When I stepped back, its head turned toward me. I ran home. I stood on porch hunched over, catching my breath. I looked back across the street and it waved to me. A week later, a realtor pulled me aside. Have you been seeing anything strange at the old Calloway place? I hesitated. What do you mean? Well, buyers keep reporting a man watching them through the windows, but the house is empty. I told her everything. She nodded slowly. Before he died, Mr. Calloway said he didn't want to leave this house. Said he'd die in it and stay in it. I thought it was just sentimental. Last night, I woke up to someone standing in my bedroom doorway, a silhouette, swaying, watching from the window. The same shape I've seen in that window for weeks. Tonight, I'm writing this from a hotel, but I know when I go home, he'll be waiting, and he won't be standing across the street anymore. He'll be in my house. The woods behind my house whisper my name. I bought my house because of the backyard. A huge stretch of forest with dense pines, soft moss, a perfect natural barrier from the rest of the world. Peaceful, quiet, at least it used to be. The first time I heard the whisper, I thought it was wind slipping through the branches. But the wind doesn't say words, and it definitely doesn't say your name. It was dusk. I was grilling dinner when a soft hiss drifted from the tree line. Mark! I froze. It sounded like someone calling from deep in the forest, but stretched, distorted, like a voice imitating human speech. Mark! Come! I turned off the grill immediately. That night, I slept with the window locked. Over the next few days, the whispers got stronger, closer. Sometimes they said my name, sometimes other words. Back. Wait. Stop hiding. We see you. One night, my backyard motion lights flicked on. I looked out the window and saw shapes standing just beyond the edge of the trees. Tall, slender, completely still. The lights shut off. When they clicked on again, the figures were gone. I called the police. They found nothing. Then yesterday, something new happened. I heard a voice in the middle of the day. Clear, normal, human. Mark, is that you? It was my brother's voice. Except my brother died 12 years ago. I stepped outside before I realized what I was doing. The voice called again, deeper into the woods. Come on, Mark. I need help. My legs moved without my permission. I walked 5 feet, 10, 20. Then I saw them. Not people, not animals. They were figures made of tightly packed branches, leaves, and bark, woven together into human shapes. No faces, no hands, just towering silhouettes leaning toward me. When the wind blew, they whispered, and the whisper came from all around. Come closer, closer. I ran back inside and barricaded the door. By morning, they were gone. But tonight, as I write this, the whispers are back. Only now they're at my window, and they're not using my name anymore. They're using my brother's NMRE because they have me, and now they're after him. I'm a 911 dispatcher. Last night, I got a call from myself. You build a thick skin as a 911 dispatcher. Screaming callers, break-ins, heart attacks. Your job is to stay calm, no matter what. But nothing prepares you to hear your own voice call for help. It was 2:14 a.m., the graveyard shift. Phones were silent. My partner was on break. I was sipping cold coffee when Lean 3 lit up. Caller ID, unknown location, unavailable. I picked up. 911, what's your emergency? A shaky voice answered, someone's trying to get in my house. The breath hitched. The tone cracked. I felt my blood run cold. It was me, my voice. Not just similar, exact. Same inflection, same tightness when scared. I know my own voice. What's your address? I asked, heart pounding. The voice hesitated. I don't know. He turned off the lights. He's in the hallway. I swallowed hard. Okay, stay on the line. What room are you in? My office, the voice whispered. I'm hiding under the desk. I looked around the dispatch center. I was in my office. Hiding under the desk was something I'd done once before, years ago during an active shooter scare. The memory slammed into me like a truck. This is a recording, I muttered. Has to be. But the call wasn't listed as playback. It was live. On the other end, the other me whispered, he's coming. Footsteps echoed through the phone. Slow, heavy footsteps. They were getting closer. Listen, I said. You need to escape. Is there a window? No, the voice whimpered. And he knows I'm here. He's opening the door. I heard the door creak. Then silence. Hello, I shouted. Are you there? Respond. And then the voice, my voice, whispered, he looks just like me. Static roared, and the call dropped. I froze. A loud creak echoed through the empty dispatch center. My office door. I stood up, every muscle screaming. The hallway lights flickered. Someone stood in my doorway. Same height, same build, same face. He smiled. Not a human smile. Too wide, too stretched. You shouldn't have answered, he said. His voice was mine. I slammed the office door and called every unit in the area. By the time help arrived, the intruder was gone. The next night, my voicemail had one message. My own voice whispering, "Round 2. Someone keeps leaving teeth on my doorstep." The first tooth showed up on Tuesday. Small. Human. A molar, I think. No note, no explanation. Just sitting in the center of my welcome mat like a gift. I gagged and threw it out immediately. The second tooth came Wednesday. 2 more on Thursday. By Friday, there were 5 scattered in a neat little ring. I called the police. The officer took a report but hinted it was probably a prank. "Kids messing around," he said. "Kids don't pull out adult teeth." I set up a camera. At 3:12 a.m., the motion alert went off. I watched the footage with my skin crawling. A figure approached the doorstep. Tall, thin, moving in stiff, jerky motions. Its arms hung too low, almost to its knees. Its head twitched like a broken animatronic. It reached the camera's edge and stopped. Then it lifted a hand. Dozens of loose teeth poured from its palm like sand. They clattered onto the mat. The figure bent down, arranging them lovingly into a circle. Then it straightened and looked directly into the lens. Its mouth was open. Rows of teeth were missing, bloody gaps where they'd been torn out. It was offering them to me. The next morning, I found the ring just like in the video, but inside the circle, something new. A note. 4 words scratched onto torn cardboard. "You're next. Smile wide." I was the only patient in the hospital wing, or so I thought. I'd been admitted for observation, heart palpitations. Nothing serious, they said. One night in a quiet wing of the hospital, just to be safe. The nurse apologized as she led me to my room. "You'll be alone tonight," she said. "This wing's being remodeled." Perfect. I liked quiet. Around midnight, I heard footsteps outside. Soft, slow. I ignored them at first. Then they stopped right outside my door. I sat up. "Hello? Nurse?" No answer, only silence. I got up and peeked into the hallway. Lights flickered down the entire corridor. Every room was dark except mine. At the far end, a figure stood facing the wall. Hospital gown, bare feet. Another patient? Someone wandering? "Hey," I called. "You okay?" The figure didn't move. I took a step out. "Do you need help?" It turned slightly, not all the way. Just enough that I saw the curve of his cheek. It had no ear, no mouth, no features at all, just smooth skin stretched over a skull-like shape. I stumbled backward into my room and slammed the door. The footsteps returned minutes later, slow, deliberate, stopping just outside again. I pressed the call button for the nurse. No response. The footsteps moved away, back down the hall. When dawn came, I asked the nurse about the other patient. "What other patient?" she asked. "This wing was empty. You're the only one assigned here." I didn't argue. As I checked out, I passed the remodel schedule posted near the elevator. The wing hadn't been used for years. The last patient in my room died there in 1995. Autopsy report listed severe facial deformities. No eyes, no ears, no mouth. My dog refuses to go into the basement. Now I know why. My cane corso, Boone, is fearless. He's chased black bears and coyotes off the property, but he will not go into the basement. The first time I noticed it, I dropped my phone down the stairs. Boone followed me everywhere, so I expected him to trail behind. But instead he froze at the top step, hackles raised, whining softly. "What's wrong?" I asked. He backed away, tail tucked. I shrugged it off. But over the next week, he growled at the basement door every night. He refused to drink water near the vent that led downstairs. He slept in my room trembling. Finally, I installed a camera down there. Around 2 a.m., the basement lights flicked on by themselves. Boone jumped onto my bed and started barking at the door with pure terror. I checked the live feed. Something stood in the corner of the basement. At first, I thought it was a person, tall, pale, hunched, but its limbs were too long, bending the wrong direction. Its head scraped the ceiling. It slowly turned toward the camera. Its face wasn't human. Too smooth. Too stretched. A long, wide grin carved into its skin, like someone had drawn a smile with a knife. It lifted one hand and waved at the camera, with a twitching, broken motion. Boone whimpered and hid under the blankets. I ran downstairs with a bat, stupidly thinking I could fight whatever it was. The basement was empty. Only the camera remained, still recording. When I replayed the footage, I noticed something I missed before. As the creature walked toward the camera, its shadow stretched up the stairs, toward the basement door, toward Boone and me. I moved out the next morning, but sometimes in the new house, Boone still stares at the basement door. And now, sometimes it opens on its own.